customers, so that eventually you get these customers that then come, they have the ability to access finance. Maybe an example of an inclusive business that we have done in this region, in Tanzania and in Ethiopia, we have supported a bottling company, a company that distributes Coca-Cola products. Normally the typical distribution process in the past was to use big distributors, 40-foot containers that then some company would, distribute to the big grocery chains and that kind of thing. Now we know that there are consumers that are living in inaccessible places, but that actually have a consuming power. So why don't you find a mechanism that can bring this product and little mini distributors in hand carts, on scooters, give them the opportunity to be distributors.
Absolutely.
They have a ready market, market through the bottling company, and they can then reach the smaller consumer in the hinterland.
Absolutely.
And what we do on top of that is also give them advisory service or technical support on how to run their small business, because it's not enough just to say go and do it, but actually how do you do it? How do you run a business?
Can I ask, in terms of also encouraging local industry, is that also part of G20 or the challenge in itself? So is that is inclusive, also encouraging local industries? Let me be selfish and talk about Kenya in terms of unlocking those potentials. Is that also
So what the challenge does is identifies these 15 winners, but then post to the winning happen, there will actually be regional forums that will that will be held, where knowledge sharing will be a critical part of it. So what are the things that we learn from the models that we are doing internally, let's say in Kenya, for example, assuming we have a winner in Kenya, but also beyond is what's being done in South America, and how do we learn from that? What's been done in India, what's been done in China, and how do we learn from those models and translate them to a local context? So in some ways, this is a way of, first of all, recognizing that this is a really emerging space, but also creating a platform for people to learn and innovate better by not just looking at what the next guy is doing in your country, but also thinking globally and learning that, right? As the world becomes smaller and flatter, that ability becomes quite important.
Can I ask, why agriculture? And it's interesting, you've talked about the lighting concept, because I'm quite surprised by that, but there's a lot of focus on agriculture. I mean, just looking at some of the reports coming from your breakfast meeting yesterday, there was a lot of focus on agriculture, encouraging young people to get involved in agriculture. I know it still is the biggest employer, but we also have other industries that haven't been unlocked in terms of what they can be. The maritime, for example, huge potentials there, but no one seems to be talking about that. The port area, huge potential. Let me even say our own music and film industry
has potential.
Is there endeavor towards that direction and begin to put a lot of focus?
Absolutely. I think the conversation yesterday just tuned towards agriculture because of the people we had on the panel, and also recognize this is the biggest, if you want to call it, industry and sector in the continent. It employs most people, anything between 65 to 90%, depending on which country you're looking at. It is the backbone in a lot of ways of a lot of our economies.
Absolutely.
If we're going to have significant growth happen, a 1% increase in agriculture productivity has a significant impact on GDP. So naturally, the conversation gravitated towards agriculture, but frankly, the G20 challenge is about everything. Because there are innovations, and we saw this happen. I mean, let me take a quick example. We saw this happen in about 5-10 years ago, when people started packing, consumer products, your blue bands and margarines in smaller sachets. And all of a sudden, you had agriculture people saying, wait a minute, maybe this is what has been holding back our farmers from taking up improved seeds and fertilizer. If I'm a farmer, I can't buy a 50 kg bag of fertilizer, but pack it for me in 1 kg, then maybe I can afford that. Then maybe I can use that for my little plot, but I can't afford for my entire plot. And so that's the innovation we're saying is, we will take very specific looks at what industries have done, but frankly, it will be, let's distill it to what's the actual innovation, and how do we get that innovation to go into other different sectors. So if there's something we can learn from, the solar lantern market, for example, there's actually a significant amount of learning that's coming from the microfinance industry that says, the reason why people haven't been able to buy solar lanterns is if you go to Shags right now and ask a guy, give me $50, right? So that's what, $50, what, 4,000 shillings right now to buy this product. They don't have it in cash. But can you link that with a microfinance offering where somebody goes and gets a loan, gets the product, and then is able to use it and then pays it back? The same exact program that we've seen Safaricom and I guess Equity Bank launch on laptops. Can you do something similar here? So it's about finding the models, but distill the insight of how they've been able to get to, to get to scale, and then have that be applicable to different sectors. So that's what we are saying.
And let me come back to in terms of as you wind up. I see like some sort of in the future where you still have some sort of bottlenecks, and more specific in terms of legislature, because you're speaking and it reminds me of what Mitt Romney said. He put him in trouble. You know, if there's something wrong with the poor,
with the very poor, we have a safety net.
And you're saying, you know, there is a lot of potential, but then you still we're still in a position where we're still very lethargic in as far as legislation that will unlock those potentials in as far as even new industries developing after this challenge. Does IFC or how does IFC then engage with government to make sure that they continue to open those bottlenecks, to make sure that you know, that scenario doesn't happen in terms of getting to a position where you're like, because of legislation, then you can't move. Do you effectively engage?
No, we definitely do, and we do what we call our investment climate program. So basically it's looking at what, if you look at the investment climate or the climate, what are the barriers to businesses thriving? Is it from how long it takes to register a business and how long it takes to get your good from the port? You know, to the western part of the country. So there's quite a number of areas that actually really hinder the growth of the private sector and actually are a bigger barrier to the smaller firm owner than the bigger one that maybe has the corporate muscle and things to get things through. So we have this program that actually looks on a sectoral approach and basically to say, in this particular sector, what is it that is creating these barriers to environment, and how can we engage with the government to really unlock these and give the potential? So this is what we're working on.
Well done. Just as we wrap up, so is it ongoing? Has the challenge started? Can anyone still
Absolutely. The challenge has started. The challenge has started. My big push is go to G20challenge.com. All the information is there. There's a quick, literally 10-minute pre-application process, and then for those who are eligible, there's then it'll probably take another 30-40 minutes to finish the application. The most important thing is G20challenge.com. All the information is there. Please apply. I would love to see one of the winners come from Kenya, because I travel a lot across the continent, and frankly, the amount of innovation we are seeing coming from this continent, from this part of the continent, from this country, is tremendous. And if people don't apply, you can't win, and then we can't celebrate you. So the first thing is just go to the website G20challenge.com, apply, and then let's see what happens by the end of June, and hopefully we're having a very different conversation in that period.
Well done. Aida, very good to see you.
Good to see you, man.